The date for the next one,
The 17th December.
December 17th?
Yeah, we'll talk about that, you know, even if we want to have a meeting in December, we'll get there. So thank you for the minutes. Anybody have any suggestions? Looking at the minutes, did anybody see anything that needed to be added, subtracted, corrected?
Everything was fine.
No.
Okay,
were
all in
helpful.
favor of accepting the minutes as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Accepted. All right, so you can post those, Charlie. They're excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent. Thank you.
We do not have any members from the public, so we can continue on. All right, I did not get to go or do the Zoom that Liz Argo had. Did anybody get to do that? No?
I did part of it.
Part of it? Okay.
And I did part of it.
It is available. She sent the link out if you do want to go back and look at it. Subsequently, she sent out a notice about a Mass Save program for funding energy managers.
I sent a copy of that to
Yeah.
that Deborah Ennis and said if she wanted to use that for her.
Well, update on that. I talked to Maggie Downey at Cape Light Compact, and if you read the fine print, it is only for areas that are serviced by Eversource or National Grid, not Cape Light Compact. So it would not apply to us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
I don't follow it.
we have our own energy provider, Cape Light Compact.
Yes.
Some places have Eversource, some places have National Grid, some places have Unitel, some people, you know, but so it would not
So
apply to us.
Eversource could have a program similar to Cape Light Compact?
They do. I mean, they're a provider for people that don't have like Cape Light Compact off Cape.
Because I'm serviced by Eversource.
We
But-
all get our bills through Eversource,
Okay.
but you're a Cape Light Compact customer. Anyway,
As well.
as well, yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah.
as well is what confused me.
Right.
Okay.
And even if we were eligible, it's crappy money. It's only like a couple $1,000.
Oh, I see.
You know, it's like seed money.
So what's it called? Energy coordinator?
Sustainability coordinator.
Or energy manager, I forget what, you'd have to
Well-
go back to look at the email.
Deborah calls it sustainability coordinator.
We're talking about what Mass Save was, the program that Liz Argo sent. So that's the bad news, that we are not eligible for that program, but it's okay because it was never intended to actually fund the salary of a whole energy manager, you know, it was
Yes.
basically seed money, you know, and you'd still have to come up with the rest of it. But the good news that I heard through the grapevine, I have not personally confirmed this yet,
Mhm.
is that next year, the state is considering allowing green communities to use their green community money to pay for energy managers or sustainability,
And what
you know. so-
funds the green community?
It's like the money that we've used to replace all the boilers in town and, you know, when we became a green community, remember we were we had access to this grant money, remember?
No, I've
Is
never.
it all gone now?
No,
I mean, does it keep coming in?
it keeps coming in. And that
How
was
much
all-
is that?
It depends on what you ask for. I mean, we have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state through our green community connection.
Boy, but
So what is the fund? I mean, are we talking about an energy manager? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing that we
like
didn't.
Sean Hogan. Sean Hogan, how do you pronounce
Yeah,
it?
so some towns call them sustainability managers,
Yeah.
but that's a big rule that they have is energy.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing to do with climate action on this, right?
It can.
It depends
course.
upon the town and what the town wants to have.
Yeah, but
that
what does the
person-
money cover, though? That's what it is.
Oh,
Look at
Whatever the
Brewster.
town wants.
Look at Brewster.
Yeah,
EV chargers.
No, I'm
yeah.
I'm asking her
This
what
is a
this-
hypothetical position. I mean, so it would be whatever the town wanted it to be. And so in theory, if this passes, you know, at the state level, the money that we are eligible to apply for, because we are a green community, could go to helping
Paying.
to fund for one of these.
Helping or paying it all together?
Well, it really depends, you know, on.
Because I understand Deborah is trying to move on with the suggestion that 3 towns would join and have one coordinator for the 3 towns
Well, that's
to
what they're
save
doing
money.
with Eastham, no, not Eastham. Orleans, Brewster.
I understand
Yeah.
Brewster is independent.
Eastham didn't do it. Eastham didn't sign up for it.
Isn't
anyway.
Sean Hogan, do you know him?
He works
Sean.
exclusively for Barnstable.
Yeah, he was a
For
full-time
Brewster.
hire by
Barnstable.
the town of Barnstable.
Oh,
But what
yeah,
Valerie's been
Barnstable.
talking about is there's 3 local towns that went all in together. So they only have to pay a third of
Mm. Yeah,
the salary of the
yeah, yeah.
sustainability manager. But, you know, we didn't get that interest from our town
Right.
to participate in that.
Right.
So if we had, there would have been a quarter
Right.
of
Of course.
it.
But let me, I'll give you an update on how that's all working from Cable Light Compact. Because this person, I forget her name, but anyway, this person that they hired to do this job does have to split her time, you know, she's a day here, and she also works for Cable Light Compact, because they're actually coordinating her salary, and so the town pays Cable Light Compact, and Cable Light Compact
really?
pays her, you know, I mean, so they're, you know, doing all the grunt work when it comes to
Huh.
that. So anyway, it's, as you can imagine, every town is different.
Of course.
You're dealing with different people, different town managers, different selectmen. It's taking her, understandably, time to get to know the people that she's working with and trying to figure out what they want. And she doesn't have a lot of time. Personally, I think people are going to be disappointed. Because I don't think the model is going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. Because it's not like she's working for you all the time. You know, she's got other, and not each, and the towns don't all have the same
Needs.
goals, you know, or, you know, and maybe that's part of her job, is to kind of get the towns to kind of agree on something that she could, you know.
And is
put-
she still putting some of her hours towards
Cable
Cable
Light,
Light
yes.
Compact?
Maybe she ought to tell them what she's gonna do for all of them, and then tell her, she ought to set the agenda rather than let
Well,
them set the
That's her
agenda.
job, you know, we have nothing to do with that. So anyway, so I will keep my ear to the ground and try to do a little more research on that. But if it does turn out that, you know, we can apply for a grant through Green Communities. Now, a grant is a grant. The state is never gonna fund a staff position at a town in perpetuity. I mean, it would be a limited, I mean, a 1-year kind of thing, and then the town would have to pick it up and carry it forward. I mean, you can't expect the state to pay for it.
Right.
Do you intend to inform Deborah of this?
Well, and I get some more information, you know, right now it's just a rumor, you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and once I get, I will let her know that it's a rumor, but
Yeah.
I don't have any concrete,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because otherwise.
Did she ever talk to the board?
Pardon?
Did she ever make her presentation to the board?
Deborah?
Yeah.
To this board?
No, to the select
Oh,
board.
I don't think so. She
Yeah, I
never,
don't
she never
think so.
told me, you know.
Yeah,
That's what she was planning
Right,
to do,
right. I
wasn't
don't think
she?
she's quite ready for that
I
yet.
think she's working on it.
Yeah. So Cape Light Compact, that's.
But if she does ever do it, we ought to go at the same time and support her. or something.
Absolutely, and I told her to let us know, you know, when that's gonna happen. I'm sure she will,
Yeah.
Cape Light Compact, another
We
update.
could get up
from-
there and cheer her.
Yeah, another update from that, they had a special program this past year and a half or so that was targeting low and moderate income homeowners and renters, where they would go in, and particularly if you're low income, they would give you solar panels, heat pumps, and for some of them, even battery backup for
You're
$0.
talking about the Cape Light Compact
Yeah.
program that we
Right.
have looked at it ad nauseum.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So they completed that program.
Who completed it?
Cape Light Compact
Oh, okay.
completed the program. And so, because it was a pilot program, you know, the state said, you can do this, you can only do it for so many people, you can only spend so much money on it, you know, then you're gonna have to write up a report, and you're gonna have to report back as to how did it work out. Because we all know that in New England in particular, we're gonna have a really, really hard time going all electric because we are retrofitting so many pre-existing homes. It's one thing when you build a house to be all electric, it's quite another thing when you convert it. And what they found out, sort of a couple of takeaways from this program, is that it is wicked expensive. Very expensive. And to the point where it's like it's not even really sustainable to go in and try to take these houses and convert them all electric. So we don't know. We don't know ultimately what is going to come of it. The state, I think, is going to look at the price tag and say, can't do this. You know,
I have a gas fireplace in my family room. I sit there every evening, and it's so cozy. For me to get rid of that and put an electric fireplace in there, which I do have in the basement. I have two of them when I did my family room, or my other room down there. But I don't see how people are going to want to do that. It's
Yeah.
just
Make it worthwhile.
the gas is.
well, I think even, you know, fireplaces aside, we're talking about, you know, going into a home that has like oil heat, ripping out the oil heat
I can see the oil heat getting rid of
and
that. But,
putting in, you know, heat pumps, which turns out to be very, very expensive. I mean, I didn't have time to print out the actual figures, but I mean,
so the payback is a long time.
very long time, a very long time.
Which is why, like you said a number of meetings ago, that they're not pushing it as a cost-saving measure for the homeowner.
Exactly.
They're pushing it as a, zero carbon,
Right,
pro-environment, green.
right,
you know,
right.
And people, I mean, we just saw the election. I mean,
Yeah, they don't care.
And they don't care, people.
Literally.
So if you can sell it as in 5 years, you're making money, well, then you're gonna get people to do it. But
But
if
this
you're
is
gonna
not one
do
of
the
them.
right thing just to do the right
But
thing,
I jumped into the market and tried to get an estimate for the heat pump.
Yeah.
And I got one estimate, one.
yeah, because they're so busy, that they're not gonna call you back. It's like anything else, it's supply and demand.
And the one was $20,000.
That's
And-
pretty average.
And
Yeah.
and my system could last 10 more years beautifully.
Yeah.
So
But there's not a lot of
if
people
you're
like
in
you.
that situation, you say, do I want to spend that $20,000?
And nobody, and you're absolutely right, people are not going to do that. And so what the hope is that at the end of the life of your existing system, like when
Right.
it truly is old and decrepit and
Yeah.
needs to be replaced, that maybe you would consider,
Even one of the guys who came to give me an estimate said, why are you looking to change this?
I have a basement, a walkout basement with a sliding glass door and two windows, and I made it an office down there. And I was looking into one of these, what are those, put units up on the wall there, it's a heat pump, what do they call it, individual
Mini
unit?
splits?
Mini split.
Yeah.
And it was $12,000 to quote for one
One
room.
room.
It was a 20, and I put in two electric fireplaces that were less than $1,000. One that they got 1,200 BTUs is more than enough to heat a room this big, and I don't need any air conditioning in the summertime because it's in the basement. So for $1,200, it's versus $12,000. Why would I got that? I'm not
There you
using
go.
electric, but I'm
There you
not
have
using
the
any
perfect
gas.
example,
But
So
Yeah.
here you are on this committee,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be about as pro-green as you can be, and you didn't do it.
well, but I did make it all electric. I didn't put any. There's no gas heat in this room. It's just an electric
Yeah.
fireplace
Just
that I turn on.
different approach.
Huh?
Just a different approach.
But it's an economical approach.
Right.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Cape Light Compact continues to, advocate, for electrification, for decarbonization. The path is rocky and expensive, but, you know, they will continue to do what they can do. And that's about it for Cape Light Compact updates. I mean, they also continue to get fairly decent rates for electricity, you know, that's their other job, is to do that.
Well, they seem to be doing a pretty good job
Yeah.
with that.
I just hope it doesn't get stymied, putting the wind turbines out there, because that's what's gonna help us if we can get a lot of this wind turbines established out there and they're generating economical cost power, that'll make the power be more economical and more,
Yeah.
don't you think so?
People are trying.
Well,
People are
you
trying.
Trump
know
is
that the
not
new
going to support
president
it.
thinks that they're killing whales, and that the
Yeah.
guy he's putting in as the Secretary of Energy,
Yeah.
he took right from the gas company, you know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
so for the next 4 years, don't expect there to be a huge push on wind turbines.
yeah.
I think the
But they're not gonna stop them, are
leases
they?
that are already underway will be completed.
But
I mean,
that'll give us a feel for it.
Yeah.
As I was telling Valerie, China is going full speed ahead with the all electric vehicles and electrification
And
because they
solar
have
panels.
pollution problems. They don't have the natural resources that are available to them. And in Iceland, it's almost, they're all, a lot of these Norwegian countries are going almost all electric. So there are some spots in the world,
Absolutely.
like Martha's Vineyard out here. If you listen to the stuff on those
Yes.
seminars, they're pretty electrified out there because they have to be, because they have to ship all the gasoline out there. Why would they want to ship it out there?
Right.
If they can
Right.
generate their own power out there.
yeah. So anyway,
That's why the microgrids topic popped up
yeah.
at the meeting.
So anyway, I think that, you know, for all of us, we're just going to have to take a wait and see approach to the next 4 years. As I was telling before, most of the the Inflation Reduction Act money was pushed out the door, so that money, Trump can't claw it back. It's gone.
Okay.
It's gone.
It's unreachable.
Right, it's unreachable, right? He can't get that money back, so, because he threatened he was gonna do that, but it's not
Absolutely, yeah, he did.
available to him to do that. Now, there's many other things he can do, but, so maybe that, you know, some of those programs, you know, like the money that was in to subsidize EV, the purchase of an EV, or the subsidies that go into charging stations, and so on and so forth. I think those will be safe because they're in the state's hands now. But other than that, I think we just need to take a wait and see. Now, you all saw in the paper that Joe is up again as a finalist for a
Yes.
different town,
Bellingham.
Bellingham.
Powers?
Powers, yes.
Yeah, he will be here until
They were
June.
saying that the building commissioners, they
Yeah,
had
he
about,
left too, but,
they've had about 6 in the last, they
I
don't
mean,
stay
I
around
haven't
here.
heard if Joe got the job or not. So he was
He
a
was-
finalist.
Yeah, but they haven't decided.
I don't think they've decided.
I
No.
wonder
I didn't
why,
know this.
I wonder
We can
why
all-
the
Was it
people,
the Cape Cod Times that?
what?
Yes.
Chronicle,
The
don't
What's
Chronicle, yeah.
get the Chronicle, don't get, the Cape Cod Times is
Okay.
not worth the paper it's printed on. The Chronicle is really what that's got all the town,
Okay.
the selectmen's
How do you
meetings.
get that? You just do it on
You
online?
can get it online, it's also a physical paper, you can have delivered to your
Yeah,
house. It's once a week.
$25 or $50.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
I
If you
did,
like the paper, my mother really likes the paper in her
Right.
hand.
I did try to go out and buy a Cape Cod Times. Was the last week was it was a championship volleyball game with St. Peter's and Paul over in Barnstable, and my niece, my nephew's daughter was in her senior year, and she got up there and she volunteered. She just on 2 minutes before that she sang the Star Spangled Banner. And then she made a whole bunch of points. It was a very tight game. They lost at the last minute.
Oh.
But back to the point, the Cape Cod Times put a great big article about Ava Check in there, and I went out to 4 stores and nobody even had it. And when I finally found out the one thing was $3 and it was this thin.
Right, it's like 2 pages, you know? No, nobody reads the Cape Cod Times anymore.
Okay.
Get yourself,
Then I would get
Chronicle.
a subscription to that.
Yeah. and that'll get you all the news about the selectmen and, you know, town meetings and, you know, that type of thing.
But the bottom line is that we are up in the air until June. Until June, Joe, is ours. After, we don't know.
Oh, is that what they're saying, June?
Well,
June. That's what the article said.
yeah.
What do you mean we're up in the air? I mean, he's gonna, they gonna take till the end
Well,
of it?
he's among 3 finalists in Bellingham.
And he's been this far before, though,
Yeah,
and not gotten it.
yeah.
So what's the matter with the job here?
He is
He doesn't
discredited.
want to be here anymore.
And he is
I would assume that
discredited.
it's a 20% raise too.
Oh,
Everybody chases money, as long as there's enough.
Anyway, so we have to sort of keep that in the back of our minds,
Yeah.
you know, that the town, the selectmen will not be able to do anything, you know, without a town manager, because they don't
Absolutely.
even know about,
Yeah.
they can't do much on their own, so.
so was it in this week's Chronicle?
Yes,
Yeah, I think so,
I have
yes.
to read it.
yeah.
I
But anyway,
read it yesterday.
yeah, so that's sort of a thing we need to keep in mind. Any new information from CVAC, or we're just looking?
Feedback is pretty quiet.
Pretty quiet,
Not
okay.
much going on. You know, what I'll say is that I brought it up a bunch of times, and we haven't
Right,
gone anywhere with this. I do want to look at putting in community solar, you know, on Queen Anne, but I don't like wasting my time.
oh, no. Yeah,
And
yeah. They're not-
what I'd like, and we've discussed this in here, is that our liaison, I want to meet with our liaison. I want to sit down and I want to say, hey, am I going to be just, you know, chasing my tail? Or are we going to have people on the select board that are going to be at least interested enough for us to bring it to the board? You know,
Well, I think what the selectmen would tell you is they don't want to hear from us until we have something to say. Like, we have this company who would like to do a community solar here, and, because all they want to do is say yes or no. They're not going to do the footwork, they're not going to do the research, they're not going
So-
to.
Are you
so
talking
you think-
about-
You think we should put together a proposal, submit it from this committee, and then let them,
Are
yay
you
or
talking
nay?
about Pine Oaks?
No, we're
No.
talking about
Well,
community solar.
kind of in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it would,
Yeah, that, you know, if we put in community solar, one of the sales pitches could be is that we're providing power to Pine Oaks, but that's way down at the, I mean, I put that in a summary saying that if we were to propose this, that we would be able to use the power, you know, within the town, and Pine Oaks would be a
Right.
customer. You know, I put that in there, but, and I was gonna talk to Maria.
Is there other, one of these low-income housing things that are being planned that are
Well,
maybe sooner?
There's not a lot going on with CVAC right now as far as those.
No, I meant these low-income housing things in
Pine Oaks
Harwich.
is the
Are there
closest.
other ones that are planned that maybe we could get the community solar to if we?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything
yeah,
else.
Pine
in
Oaks, I
Harwich.
think, has gotten the furthest.
Yeah.
There's another one that's gonna be on the old Marceline property, but I don't think that one is anywhere,
What's the name of that one?
I don't even know if I don't even think they're to the point of awarding any kind of,
And that's what Valentine is
But-
managing, because he doesn't have minutes.
I think in order to sell the community solar, you gotta have some customers, so that's it.
I don't think that would be the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm willing to go and start putting together a proposal that we would submit from the committee. I'm willing to do that. But once again, I don't like the fact that, I mean, this battery thing was a home run. I mean, you got all the money coming from the state, it's like pulling teeth, and I know it's gonna happen. You know, after this last election, you're gonna see that people are gonna say, well, look, you know, the country isn't interested in EVs, let alone EV charging stations. You know, so why do we want to do this in town? And from what I assume, you know, some of the board members are of that persuasion. You know, and this here could be another thing that wouldn't cost the town anything, right? Because community solar does, all you do is provide
Space.
the space, so.
Well, you lease the space.
And what I need from you, Valerie, would be, this was before my time when we became a
Right,
part of the green community.
Right.
If you can give me
Okay.
verbiage of commitments that were made when we went to become a green community, and, you know, if I could put things in, is on such and such a date, we committed to being a green
Yeah.
community, and as a green community, we should be doing A, B, and C.
Right, and we have this land that we set
And we have
aside
this
anyway.
land, that-
Yeah.
and you gave me the impression that,
Did you finally get a plot plan?
well, no, I do, I've got a list of the plots that are on Queen Anne, but
Is it right across from the dump?
yes. but my question would be, did we make any commitments?
Oh, no, green community, the only commitment you have to make as a green community, and it's a town commitment,
Yeah,
is that you have to agree to reduce your energy consumption by 20% in 5 years, which we will not do, but,
but I know that, I know the word shall isn't in it, we're not gonna
Right.
get him fined or anything
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
You know,
But that's the only thing that we committed to.
but wasn't that land at least designated? Now, I don't know what that means, I don't know who
Right.
designated
We
it.
can't use it for anything else.
We can't.
No,
Well, how did that come to be?
because that was one of the prerequisites for being a,
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
green
the verbiage,
community, yeah.
right there,
Right, right.
you know, to put in there, is that we've already
Yeah.
made this commitment, that this land can't be used for anything else, and why not at least get something off the land, you know? And it's as good a use as any, and to me, it'd be a home run, but,
So I will see if I can dig up the green community
and I will,
stuff
and
and
I'll go to Maria.
right, and say, all you need is, even if she doesn't want to get involved in it, you just need some ideas of companies that are already in the community solar business.
Yep, and whether or not she wants to set up a meeting with those people, or she just gives me the names and I'll meet with them.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter to me which way we go,
Right.
and I'll get information, and, you know, as far as what they've done, what, you know, whether or not there's any cost to us, or whether or not we just provide the land, if they pay to clear the land, you know, just little things like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you go to the town board and you say, hey, you don't have to do anything except say
Right.
yay. You know, if you-
Exactly.
The town's not gonna need to pay $1,
Mm.
but I need to get that kind of in writing.
Who's Maria?
She's the head of CVEC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't,
The other thing you might want to is contact Cape Lake Self-Reliance, because they've been managing community solar for years.
Self-reliant?
Cape and
Self-reliance.
Self-Reliance.
I want to revisit your statement, Glenn. I think that Elon, being in the government now, he will not lose interest of selling more Teslas.
who's this?
Elon
Elon
Musk.
Oh,
Musk.
yeah, oh, no, he's gonna make money. He's not gonna give up.
Well,
making money.
maybe he's not going to make money with Teslas. He will make money with other things. But I still think that he's interested in producing more cars, and those are electric.
Well, I think he's probably interested in tariffs on Chinese cars so that he can continue to sell his cars at the highest rate he can possibly get.
Well, Europeans are buying Teslas in Europe, and Europe accepted not to, for those cars to pay a very high tariff.
But I believe the Europeans are putting a high tariff on Chinese cars, right? I think I read that
Yes,
recently.
yes, but
They may stop doing
Teslas, Elon Musk managed to get a special deal for his cars. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of Starlinks.
that. Who knows?
Yes,
Who
must be
knew that
Starlinks.
If you were the richest person in the world, you could buy a country.
Of course.
He
He
is
bought the US.
he's supposed to be the
Yes,
richest
he
person.
He bought it. You know,
He
he
said
bought
he-
the United States of America. I
He
mean,
said he made a couple of billion since he got appointed by Trump.
Oh yeah.
Trump
yeah.
now.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
that's yo-yo.
you know.
It could
Anyway.
up, down.
Couple of
So,
billion?
Also, you
Jeez.
might want to, if you have the time, call Cape and Islands Self-Reliance and talk to them.
Is that what, it's not self-reliance, it's Cape and Island self-reliance?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, Cape and Island self-reliant.
And their phone number is 508-563-6633.
You don't have a name of an individual?
Either Megan or, get the name of it.
That's okay.
works there. Megan's the head of it, Megan Amsler.
What a treat to have a telephone number.
Are you all
Lindsay.
better now?
Lindsay's the other girl.
Are you all better now?
Anyway, so, and
We're
they
sick
have
last time, weren't
been
you?
managing
Well, it was a few, it's all
community
gone.
solar, which means that they're the middleman, you know, so the company that built the solar farm hires Keep An Eye on Self-Reliance to gather customers and to do all the billing and, you know, that type of thing, you know, so they've done the administrative end of it for a while.
That's the hard part.
And, yeah, and that is the hard part. Most of the companies that build the solar farms, they don't really want to sell, that's all they want to do. They just want to build a solar farm, and they're looking for somebody else to run it.
Did you have any idea what the project actually is down at the park and ride, right by the exit 2? Because they've been, they're putting in solar, but they've been doing that for 2 or 3 months now, and it says they're gonna be done by December.
And who is?
Well, there's
behind
solar-
that?
Well, that's
there's
my
solar
question. I don't know.
canopies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're putting canopies in.
I'm sure it's it's a
It's the
mass.
state of
yeah,
Massachusetts, I'm
it's-
sure,
it's a-
but, I never read anything in detail about, what the state's doing there. I'm just making assumptions that, it's just and maybe.
Who was gonna use their power? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I don't know any of the details, there's a couple charging stations there for all I know they're.
People
it
that
is.
work off Cape park their cars there and charge them while they're parked, or not?
I've gone by there many times and seen the same Tesla parked there, so this guy's got, he's commuting for free. He just leaves his car parked there at one of the charging stations, and whether or not it's a he or she, and their spouse brings them there in the morning, but, they're leaving their car out there overnight so that they don't have to pay because it's free to charge your car there. So you might want to say to somebody, leave your car there. Get a bike rack and then
If
ride
I had
back to
an
your house on
I
the
solar
bike.
If I had-
panels, most of the time I have no pay, and I still have
If I
my
had an
car.
expensive car like that, I would not leave it out there like that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, so,
Right.
no, I have it so convenient. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's probably a Mass DOT,
Yeah, no.
project, so.
Sure it is, because that's the sign that's there,
Yeah.
but.
They're doing it, apparently they're doing it a bunch of places all over Massachusetts.
Oh,
Yeah, they're doing it in several locations. So anyway, the solar, community solar, that just can percolate, on the back burner, as you have time to think about it. I'm assuming that the charging station thingy is kind of just in a holding
Yeah,
pattern.
well, he's doing something, so it's moving along, so I actually feel kind of confident that it's gonna get done, how fast it gets done.
Probably before he leaves.
Yeah, I would think that by summertime we'll have something, because it's not that big a deal.
Right,
And it's not a big, you're not putting in 2 or 3, you're just putting in 1 down there.
right,
That doesn't require to have a pad mount transformer, just
Right.
pull them on it,
right.
so something like that.
Well, hopefully that's true.
That should get done by summer, I would think.
Good. Pine Oaks updates, there was a select board meeting and we had what do you call it? People could come and talk about it. And there, again, that was in the Chronicle, you can read about it. I didn't go, but I did read about it, and there were still a lot of people not happy about the traffic report,
It was neighbors, wasn't it? It
yeah,
wasn't
people
the
that
whole
live in
town.
the area, they're worried there's gonna be too much traffic, and I think that people have to understand that not every single person that moves into this new Pine Oaks is a new Harwich resident. It's probably gonna be somebody who's already here, moving in, they're living in their mother's basement or something, and now they've got their own apartment. So I don't think there's gonna be a lot of new cars on the road. But they'll be in a different location, like be more concentrated at the Queen Anne area. And remember, he talked about there could be 2 entrances to that facility, one on Queen Anne and one on Old Main. And if they do develop both of those entrances, I think it will cut the traffic in half, right? Because people who live closest to one will go that way, and the closest to the other one.
But it will double the number of people who bitch, because people at this end will
Right,
complain, and people at this end will complain.
And I think that, you know, that it's the old NIMBY thing, you know, everybody complains about housing, and then when you have a housing project, well, nobody wants it.
Yep.
What bothers me is I don't see any numbers. How much is going to be the rent? How much are they going to sell
Oh,
those?
They don't know that yet, because it's gonna be 5 years before it's done, and it'll be market, they
Yeah, but
can't
in
say
the
that
meantime,
now.
we have to approve something that we don't know what it's going to be.
Well, I mean, we're not paying for it, you know, so
I think we will, taxes.
well, they get a break in their taxes, but, and most of it's grant money and other money, it's not
Really?
Harwich money.
Yeah, I don't think Harwich is putting any money towards it. You know,
But that's, it's not clear. It's not clear. I read that
Mhm.
letter,
Yeah,
the selectman to
Yeah.
an outfit in the director of low-income housing in Boston, and I read all the amendments, and there are a million questions. And the money has not been vetted, it has not been
well,
approved.
because we're at the very beginning, they can't, Pine Oaks cannot go to the state to apply for the grants until the town of Harwich at least gives them permission to continue. It doesn't have to be permission to build, they just have to get permission to continue the study. You know what I'm saying? That-
Yeah, but in the meantime,
Yeah.
people are getting, involved and accepting, and we get to the end, and we are sold a package that benefits the builder, not
Well,
us, the
these
town.
people are nonprofits. So I'm sure they're gonna be very careful about where they spend the money. I mean, they're not, Pine Oaks, this is a nonprofit organization, so they're not making money on building this. They
Really?
exist, yeah, these people are, these are nonprofit.
Mm.
So it's not like, one of these, Eastward Company or something is coming in and building it. This is a nonprofit organization, this is what they do. The cost of the units will be regulated by the state. They will not have any choice in what, particular low-income units will be regulated, highly regulated. It's a formula, they take it's always been a mystery to me how they come up with it, but they find out what is low income for the state of Massachusetts, and then they will allow, there's a maximum amount of rent can be charged if you're a low-income person. And so that would be the rent that you would pay, and it's up to the nonprofit to make up the rest, right? Because you can only spend 30% of your total income on housing if you get subsidized housing.
I would think that the only thing, if it was me, if I was worried about what, how it's gonna impact me personally, would be the cost that the town would incur or not. Maybe the builder incurs the cost of any work on the road to put up traffic lights and stuff like that. I don't know, I'd assume that when they make the proposal,
Right.
that they have to come up with the money and
Right.
not the town.
Right.
But that's an assumption on my part, I don't know if that's true.
That's the way it is in many, North Carolina for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
The
builder
builder
does
of the
everything.
community
yeah.
has to make any traffic improvements around there to make the traffic flow properly.
They've already had the traffic study. You can go and read it. It's on their website. And all the recommendations for changes in whatever that needs to be
I mean,
changed.
if they need turning lanes, or if they need a roundabout, or whatever they need
Right.
to make the
Right,
traffic
but
flow
that's-
smoothly.
Traffic, there's also the cemeteries, there is also the community center, the library, 204, Season Road. They all need more stuff because
Right.
they are too short. Where is that going to come from?
Well, you gotta keep in mind that.
Personnel. And personnel
We're
needs
not
money.
building this, we're not running it.
I
You
know.
The only thing Harwich has to do is approve it. So Harwich has to agree to issue them a building permit. That's where Harwich comes in. If we have to be willing to issue them a permit to build what they're proposing. We don't pay for it, but we issue the permit. Now, some of the questions that came up were, besides traffic was a big one, but another question is like, will this make the schools be too big? Well, I think we're under capacity right now, so I think we could absorb quite a few more kids into the system without any problem.
Health, that's another issue.
Health,
Transportation to get to hospital.
Yeah, well, you know, they're right,
Nurse.
they'll be right by the highway. The B-bus and the RTA can put them on the route, that won't be a problem. The bottom line is, you can't complain about housing and not getting a doctor, hard to find police officers, hard to keep teachers, hard to get nurses, and not think about how to provide housing. And I keep saying, there's nothing for free. Nothing.
Our church lost their pastors about a year ago, and they decided at that time to bring an organ from another church over off the mainland for $350,000. And everybody there said, the real thing we need to do is provide a parsonage.
Right,
Now
right.
they've been a year and a half and they still can't find a thing. And they finally decided that they're looking for a donation of a house so they can retrofit and make it a parsonage. But they've already bought this organ for $350,000. Now we need another $350,000 to pay for this house here because nobody thought far enough ahead that the most important thing is to
It's
get
house.
a house for the people. Otherwise you can't get them at all. We've got a temporary pastor because there's no housing available.
Well, we have a
Because
little
they can't
church,
get anybody come out here without any housing.
we have a tiny little church, but years and years ago, we realized that a parsonage was important. And we bought a parsonage and it's paid off and we have it. But anyway, so nothing's for free. Turbines have their pros and cons. Heat pumps have their pros and cons. High density housing has its pros and cons. But, you gotta look at the greater good, You have to, you can't, what's that saying? You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And,
Well, Patton said that too.
Yeah.
Patton had a phrase,
Yeah.
which was, a good plan put into action with vigor is a lot better than a great plan that you sit around waiting forever to come up
Right.
with.
right. And other towns are doing this, and they're being fairly successful with it, putting in, and high density housing, turns out, was what we should have been doing in the first place. And, condensing where we live and leaving everything else green, but that's a whole other. Instead of having like the silly 1 acre minimum lot sizes that we decided to go with.
That's what I have, and I like the 1 acre lot.
Of
but
course
I-
you do, because you're wealthy enough to afford it, and I have 1 acre too. I love it.
I
But
didn't know that was set up by zoning then.
Yep.
Okay, so somebody
back
decided
in the
that.
'80s, they were worried about build out, and nobody knew anything about climate change or anything like that, or water quality or all that. It was very nebulous ideas, and they said, well, we'll fix it. We'll make it so that you have to have at least 1 acre of land to build a house, and that'll slow down development. Well, it didn't, and but it just made
Crazy
houses currently not accessible to the average person because they're too expensive.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, so Pine Oaks, they're working their way through the process. I wish them luck. I was contacted by the town. It's annual report time. So your homework is to send me 1 paragraph about something that you remember that we did this year, or talked about this year, or somebody we had come and talk to us, or something, anything. And I will put it all together.
The sustainability coordinator. That's a hot topic.
Right. But we didn't actually complete that. So try to think of things that we actually did.
Well, I think the thing that we did most is what Glenn did here is to get them to put an EV charging station.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the only,
the only
that's the
thing we
only
did.
actual accomplishment we've had the whole year.
And
I mean,
not
we still
even
haven't- we still
accomplished.
don't have it.
Well,
No.
it's close to it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a possible.
Yeah. But we had, we did those 2 talks this year, the 2.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the 2
talks.
talks.
So anyway, send me a couple of sentences.
And your seminars that you had.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, those 2. The other one, the seminar that we did, that was the previous year. We can't count it from this year.
We're trying to tout our accomplishments, that's what
Yeah,
we're
but
trying to
It's an
do.
annual report, so they got that one last
You
year.
gotta say you did something, because otherwise they get rid of you.
So anyway, that's all I had on this list. You had,
Yeah, I would like to revisit, for example, the accomplishments of Sean Libby. Are there any? I would like to hear about it.
what do you mean accomplishments?
What is he doing? I mean,
Well, he-
what has what has him done at 204? That required a lot of upgrading, and we don't know what he's doing. No clue.
I'll send him an email.
My other, and I'm being very persistent, but I care for it. The liaison no-show. Other committees, do they experience the same thing?
Mhm.
So that is a formality, but in practice it doesn't happen.
Right, the best way for us to communicate with the select board is to go to a select board meeting and talk. Not depend on the liaison.
Don't you have to get on the agenda to do that? Have to have something to talk about?
There's
You
two
can't just
ways-
go there and talk there.
There's two ways you can do it. If it's short and sweet, like you are just telling them something, you don't. You just get up at the beginning, when they have public speaks. And I've done this before, I've just gotten up and said, we're doing this, But if you want to like I will eventually have to give my annual report to the selectmen in person, which is another thing, we can talk about if.
Is this different from the one that you're gonna put in the write-up?
No, it's just the write-up has to go in the book that.
I know the book, but I mean,
Yeah.
isn't it the same
But we
thing?
also get invited to speak to the select board. They asked me to do it, but they haven't given me a date yet. I mean, all the committees have do the same thing. I mean, not just us, As far as Don Howell goes, I know in theory, he supports what we do, he's pretty interested in energy efficiency and that type of thing. He has serious health issues, so.
His picture was in that last Chronicle when he
Yep.
did that Veterans Day
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, so he does
He
get
showed him
out.
out on the front page. He didn't
Yeah,
have any,
he
he
gets
didn't have
to-
any walker with him or
I have
anything
seen
like
him
that.
in several meetings
Yeah.
at the.
Yeah, he
At the
gets
board.
to what he wants to get to, but, I know he's in and out of the hospital, and I know
Really?
he's, yeah.
Now, the other topic I'm very interested in, maybe you can tell us about it, Glenn, is microgrids. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with, what it is.
Because I thought that to have a few of those before we get a hurricane, it would be phenomenal because we would have electricity even if everything is down. Martha's Vineyard has them, and like you said, they are fairly self-sufficient and advanced. And so I thought maybe we could look into that.
Well, maybe you could at least put down how many people have a generator. Because a generator is a microgrid in itself for the homeowner or for the business. They can still self-sustain. It runs off of natural gas.
Well, I think it would be, I have a generator, and I think in a severe storm, like the ones we have had, that goes also,
No, not necessarily. Why would it unless the gas line is interrupted? That's the whole
Yeah,
purpose
I
of
mean,
having
you
it.
don't live near the water, right? I mean, you're not right on the ocean.
Well,
How high above sea level are you?
13 feet.
Yeah, so
That's
your
that's-
generator is 13 feet above sea level. If your generator goes underwater, we have bigger issues.
Well,
Well, I'm talking about those issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mine is 67 feet above sea level,
Yeah.
my generator.
Yeah, but you're in good shape. I'm not. 13 feet is nothing.
I agree with that, but
Nothing.
You can
I
always
can be
retreat.
flooded. I can be flooded.
Yes.
You can always retreat.
What do you mean? Move the house back?
Well, that's one option, and what the federal government is thinking about, FEMA, is having a rule where if you get flooded out,
You have to lift your house.
You have to move. They will pay you to move, but they won't pay you to fix your house. They'll pay you to take your house down and go someplace else. So, I mean,
I like that, but I haven't heard that.
yep. I think right now, if you get flooded out twice, the rule is already in
Oh,
place,
really?
yeah. But they're thinking about making it like if you got flooded out.
So half of New Orleans could.
Oh, right.
How many feet above sea level are you?
I'm like Charlie, I think I'm around 67 feet too, you know, but, like you said, you know, if you have a gas line, it's gonna keep running, but every kind of engine like that, all it is an engine, right, with a little generator, so you need air, so if it goes underwater,
Right, you're done.
sorry,
Yeah.
you're done, you know, whereas most people, you know, the damage is gonna be from the wind, all the recent storms, it's flooding, right, because if you look at what happened in North Carolina and
Yes.
up in Vermont, you know, it's flooding, that's causing the damage.
The good news for Cape Cod is that we don't have rivers.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna get river flooding, and we don't have huge, like, we don't have mountains, so we don't have the water coming down, you know, in those, because even though you're 67 feet above sea, we're relatively flat out here. And we don't have any rivers, so,
Yeah, we're waiting for that big tsunami.
yeah, if the tsunami could get us, but,
As far as the microgrid, I think some towns are looking at using batteries, and that's pretty darn expensive, and, you know, getting a town to
It's not
spend money on
practical,
that,
yeah.
you gotta have somebody pretty progressive that's willing to.
And it would
I-
make
I
sense.
think they're doing it out in Martha's Vineyard and out in Provincetown or
But
someplace.
it makes sense for them. It doesn't make sense for Harwich.
Provincetown is being done by Eversource, because the cost for Eversource to bring upgrade the
A redundant
transmission
line,
line,
yeah.
to bring the power out there, was more expensive than putting in battery storage. So Eversource is putting in the battery out there.
There's
for
one
batteries.
line, there's one transmission line that goes to Provincetown, and of course, it's vulnerable. They could put a redundant line in there, but as you said, wicked expensive. And it turned out it was less expensive to put the battery.
But what about, for example, places to accommodate people in the case of a big hurricane?
They have generators. For example, the high school here has a generator. So like if they're an evacuation center, all the evacuation centers have generators that keep things going, you know.
Is that our evacuation center, is the high
I
school?
think it's the high school.
The community center, you don't think,
I don't think so.
I don't recall seeing them there.
Yeah. So the evacuation centers have, you know, they have, they're gas, you know, powered.
Nice situation.
Yeah.
13 feet above.
Yeah. Yeah, the microgrid system works best in places that are vulnerable, like an island, Provincetown way at the end of the Cape. We have a lot of redundancy coming into Harwich, you know, multiple lines coming in, because you know that half of Harwich can be out of electricity and the other half is fine, you know, so it's, so I think it's something that would be the purview of somebody like an Eversource, the people who run the power, the lines and the poles, you know, they might be looking, when they talk about grid modernization, grid mod, one of the things they talk about is microgrids, you know, but that's not something that's,
Of our
but Eversource really is doing some modernization. Did you get the letter from Eversource that we're all gonna get smart meters?
Yeah, but that's because you got a CEO now that supports that, whereas when I was there, we were starting to do that, and we got a new CEO, and he said, no, I'm not gonna do this. You know, so it's like anything else, what's old becomes new again.
Right.
So the CEO is saying, yeah, smart meters.
No,
are
we
fine.
already have
But I
smart
think,
meters.
but I think this time there's a little more clout behind it,
Yeah.
because the state required the Eversource to come up with a grid modernization plan that was looked at by the DPU and approved, and so the state is watching, you know, and so I think they're looking for them to roll these things out.
I think it's a good idea.
And will we have to pay extra for that, or is
I
covered by-
don't know if they'd roll the cost of that into your rates or not, I don't know. So, but they're not gonna do it for free.
Of course,
So sooner or later, you'll incur that cost.
yeah.
But it will be hooked up to the internet.
Hmm.
Um, The hope is that, on the good side, the hope is that if you have a smart meter, you could start to get involved with variable rates. So for example, let's suppose you charge your car.
At night.
Let's pretend you don't have solar panels, okay?
Yeah,
And you
okay.
charge your car, then you could get a special reduced rate if you
Yeah.
promise to charge your car at night, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah,
And the
and
smart
do my
grid, they
washing
could
and
monitor.
things like that.
We're almost done here. Anything else? I will look into, I'll ask Cape Light Compact if they have any other information about microgrids. I'll try to get you that Green Communities document. I'll send an email to Sean Libby and see if he's willing to either send an email to us or come and see us.
Terrific.
So before the last thing I want to talk about is, do we want to meet in December? I don't know how busy everybody is. I put the date out there.
I'll be around, but if we're not going to be accomplishing anything, then we can wait till January.
Here.
Anybody here?
No, but I may or may not be here in January. I will definitely be here in
Cross
December.
that bridge when we come to it there, Charlie. I'm sure you're not going to stick around just to come to the meetings. You'll call in if you're going to be in North Carolina.
Well, that's
So
true.
do we want to take a break in December and come back in
Fine with
January?
me.
Okay, so I'll send out a January date. And everybody just enjoy the holidays.
Valerie, anything we have on free community,
Yep.
you know, when it was
Yep.
created in 2017, I'm interested. Even if it's just direct me to a website, anything like that is fine.
It was a,
So it'd be like a third Thursday or so,
yeah, something like that.
third Tuesday or something
yeah.
in January.
Right, and we have